Accra. Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
Citi
News.
It's midday. A very good afternoon to you and welcome to the Citi Prime News on 97.3 Citi FM. We are live from our studios at number 11 Dr. Martin Loop in Adabraka, Accra. The news is also live on all our partner stations across the country and around the world. We are live on citinewsroom.com. My name is Hawah, Iddrisu, and this afternoon I'm here with
Kwaku, Ansah.
Coming up, Chairman of the Roads and Transport Committee in Parliament calls for the automation of road tolls and the charging of realistic tolls as government intends to reintroduce tolls. Meanwhile, the ministry says the reintroduction of road tolls will be improved to reduce the inconveniences. Also coming up, Deputy Majority Leader Alexander Apenyo-Markin calls for a reduction in the number of seats in Parliament to reduce its accompanying financial stress on the public purse.
It is my respectful view that to reduce the financial stress associated with running government, we must reduce the number of seats in our parliament from 275 to 200.
Still ahead, government assures of a further reduction in the prices of petroleum products at the pumps following the rollout of the implementation of the gold for oil policy.
I've been told that next week we are likely to see fuel prices fall again as a result of this policy.
And later, we'll bring you a report where beneficiaries of the Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty LEAP are demanding an increment in their grant with a call for its prompt disbursal.
We struggle a lot when the grants delay. The grant is not enough. We need the government to promptly disburse the grant and also increase it.
All that and more on Citi Prime News, which is live on all our affiliates across the country. Western region, we are live on Aduamah 100.7 in Takwa, Beach FM 105.5 in Takrady, Bono region, Greener FM 95.9 in Sunyain, Ashanti region, Focus FM 94.3 on KNUST campus in Kumasi, Orange FM 107.9 also in Kumasi, Volta region, we are live on Revival FM 99.3 in Tajewu, VOV Radio 95.7 in Hawah, Northern Region Radio Bimbela 91.9 in Bimbela, Upper East Quality FM 88.7 in Garu, Upper West we are live on Tonsong FM 97.3 in Wa and Jrapa FM 96.1 also in Jrapa.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
We are grateful for choosing us. Now, the chairman of the Roads and Transport Committee in Parliament, Kennedy Osianyako, is demanding the automation of road tolls when the policy is reintroduced. Even though the Akim Swedru MP says his committee has not been consulted on the move to reintroduce the tolls, he says the committee will demand an increase in tolls charged as the cost of road construction has increased due to inflation and depreciation of the city. He spoke on the Citi Breakfast Show. We'll bring you that inset in our subsequent bulletin. And the news is that the chairman of the Roads and Transport Committee of Parliament, Kennedy Osianyako, is demanding the automation of road tolls when the policy is reintroduced by the government. Kwaku will bring us a related story.
Now, persons living with disability who lost their jobs following the closure of toll booths in 2021 have hailed the proposal to reintroduce tolls onto the country's roads. The affected workers, at the time the tolls were suspended, appealed to the government to rescind its decision as it would affect their survival, but the pleas were not heeded to. The government instead promised to pay them until they are reassigned. When asked if that happened, one of them, Ameto Ella, answered in the negative. He, however, says that they are happy about the new development.
Unfortunately, we do not have that particular inset to try and bring to you in the course of the bulletin. This is still the City Prime News on 97.3 City FM. Now, chairman of that committee is demanding an automation of the road tolls. We bring you that particular inset shortly. Now, to one of our headline stories, the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, has announced that consumers of petroleum products should expect a further decrease in the prices of fuel at the pumps as a result of the implementation of government's gold for oil policy. The national average price for petrol and diesel currently stands at 13 cedis 53 pesos and 13 cedis 69 pesos respectively. The gold for oil policy, which was announced by the government to help reduce the pressure on the city and bring in cheaper fuel, has so far seen about 100,000 metric tons of fuel brought into the country. Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia was speaking at the commissioning of the new head office of Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation Company, BOST, in Accra.
We have not only seen a decline in prices from the 23 cedis per liter to around 12 cedis per liter, we have also seen stability in the exchange rate as we predicted. And I must say, all thanks should go to the Ministry of Energy, to BOST, to MPA, to the Bank of Ghana, Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, and the PMMC, who rose up to the occasion when we face this crisis of a rapidly depreciating currency along with rapidly increasing fuel, transportation, and food prices. I am happy to note that I've been told that next week we are likely to see fuel prices fall again as a result of this policy. And next week is not actually, Professor has just said, it's not that far, it's tomorrow. Tomorrow we will see the decline in prices that we expect. I mean, this is remarkable. 2.5 months ago, you were at 23 cedis per liter. Today, you are at 12 cedis and falling. That is a good point.
The Vice President also reiterated government efforts at addressing the dwindling foreign currency reserves, arguing that the policy is the most important macroeconomic policy intervention to deal with exchange rate issues.
By so doing, we are able to get a hold on this rampant increases in the price of fuel and also in the exchange rate. Ladies and gentlemen, I am happy to note that the gold for oil policy is the first policy of its kind in Ghana since independence to address this type of balance of payments crisis that we face. My humble opinion, this is the most important macroeconomic policy intervention to deal with the exchange rate depreciation, fuel price, food price, and inflation nexus that we have had.
That was the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia.
Now, inflation has dropped marginally to 52.8% for the month of February 2023. This represents a 1.9 percentage point decrease over the 53.6% recorded in January 2023. Now, this was captured in the Consumer Price Index (CPI) data released by the Ghana Statistical Service on Wednesday. Per the data, food inflation also stood at 59.1% and non-food inflation at 47.9%. Now, here is the government statistician, and he has been highlighting the impact of the main drivers on the increase in the overall inflation rate for the February month.
We'll bring you that particular inset shortly. Now, Deputy Majority Leader Alexander Penyomarkin is proposing the number of seats in Parliament be reduced from 275 to 200. This, he says, will ease the pressure on the public purse. The Ifutu MP, while speaking at this year's Gimpa Law Conference, also indicated that Ghana needs an upper chamber which will be known as the House of Elders. To this end, he has proposed that the Council of State be converted to serve this purpose.
For example, Instead of the current arrangement where their well-thought advice is not binding on the President by reason of the Supreme Court's decision in Ghana Bar Association and others versus Attorney General, we can ensure that the vote of the House of Elders are binding on the President on all matters concerning presidential appointment through a constitutional amendment. In making this proposal, I'm well aware of many earlier submissions that the constitutional cap is put on the number of seats in our parliament. It is my respectful view that to reduce the financial stress associated with running government, we must reduce the number of seats in our parliament from 275 to 200, and then make room for 31 members of Council of State turn into House of Lords. In my view, the election of persons to serve in the House of Elders shall be non-partisan. There will be no need to amend the relevant constitutional provision barring chiefs from engaging in active partisan politics. In other words, prominent chiefs and queen mothers, members of the academia, will remain entitled to contest or be appointed to become members of the Council of Elders.
Alexander Apanyomakin also lamented challenges regarding the role of MPs, stating that they have become development agents contrary to their lawmaking functions. This, he says, has made some MPs retire as paupers.
And when electorate elect MPs, they expect MPs to be responsive to their needs and advocate for their rights and freedoms. Over the last 30 years, Ghanaian MPs have primarily lived up to this responsibility in diverse ways. Although lawmakers are not strictly speaking development agents, many MPs, and I am of no exception, have had to dig so deep into their private pockets to provide public infrastructure to benefit underserved communities in their constituencies. In the process, many MPs have retired as paupers and have had to endure the pain and stress of paying for private loans they contracted during their time in office to provide for the needs of their constituents. This is not helping. And permit me to emphasize this, that if you do your checklist from 1992 to date, and you see the situation that former MPs find themselves, you regret and wonder why this perception of MP politicians being corrupt or that they are mass worked. You can have a survey on this to rebut this point I'm making, but you realize that many MPs are really suffering after leaving office, and sometimes they don't have means of paying for their own medical bills. But of course, those of us who are professionals, lawyers, medical doctors, we're able to go back to our profession and get back on our feet to be successful. And of course, those who are businessmen, before getting into parliament, you see them doing better.
Alexander Apanyomakin is MP for Ifutu and Deputy Majority Leader. Now, inflation has dropped marginally to 52.8% for the month of February. Let's take a listen to the government statistician, Professor Samuel Kabna-Inim, highlighting the impact of the main drivers on the increase in the overall inflation rate for February 2023.
Inflation for the month of February 2023 stood at 52.8%. This indicates a 0.8 percentage point lower rate of inflation compared to the inflation rate that was recorded for the month of January 2023. In January 2023, rate of inflation stood at 53.6% relative to 52.8% for the month of February 2023. From this perspective, we have sustained the reversal in the upward trend in inflation that we recorded in greater part of 2021 and 2022. From a regional perspective, for the first time, we are seeing Western North recording the highest rate of inflation of 63.6%, and also for the first time seeing Western North recording the highest food inflation of 77.3%. The region that recorded the least rate of inflation was the Volta region, which recorded a rate of inflation of 35.4%. Given these two rates of inflation between Western North and Volta region, the difference is about 1.8 times the region with the highest rate of inflation relative to the region with the least rate of inflation. We disaggregate the inflation rate from a food and a non-food perspective, and also from a locally produced item and an imported item perspective. From a food and non-food perspective, we see a reduction in the gap between food and non-food inflation, while from a locally produced item and an imported item perspective, we recorded a widening of the gap between these two sources of inflation. Specifically from a food inflation, we saw a reduction from 61.0% to 59.1% between the months of January and February 2023. And from a non-food perspective, we see a stabilization in the rate of inflation, 47.9% in January 2023 and also 47.9% in February 2023.
Professor Samuel Kabnainim is government statistician.
Let's bring you more stories. And the Private Health Facilities Association is urging government to fairly distribute the childhood vaccines among various health centers, particularly to private institutions. Ghana took delivery of the first consignment of measles vaccines, BCG vaccines, and oral polio vaccines on Saturday, March 11, as part of efforts to deal with the acute shortage that rocked the country since October 2022. Speaking to Citi News, the Vice President of the Association, Samuel Boachidonko, says even though the vaccines are not enough, government should ensure that they are distributed equitably.
What is coming in now, it will not be enough because we have the information that more are on the way coming. So the little ones which have come, they will distribute it fairly so that at least every district will get some, then we can use it to work. And then the ones coming, when they come, they will give it to us. So we know that as it is coming, it will not come in that bulk purchase for all of us to get. But as it is coming now, it will be coming bit. The little one that will come because it was short in the system. Now that it's coming, government will distribute it fairly for everybody to get at least something to work with. And the rest will come, all of us will get it.
Vice President of the Private Health Facilities Association, Samuel Boachidonko.
A group calling itself the 1993 and 1994 retrenched Ghana Cocoa Board Officers Association is picketing at the entrance of Parliament to petition the Speaker over what they say is the underpayment of their benefits. The group bemoans that its members were laid off in the year 1993 and 1994 without due diligence by Cocoa Board. However, following a legal action against the dismissal, the court directed Cocoa Board to pay the required benefits to the former workers. Speaking to journalists, the secretary for the group, William Boedu, says the funds paid by Cocoa Board do not correspond with their entitlements, hence the need for the Speaker of Parliament and the Office of the Special Prosecutor to probe the matter.
When we were employed in Cocoa Board, we were from various departments, various divisions, working at different areas throughout the country. So we were laid off in 1993, some in 1994. And it became a court case. In 2019, the court gave the ruling that Cocoa Board should pay us our benefit. At Cocoa Board in 2020 started issuing a check out to us. The amount of money that is given to us is not nothing to write home about. So we wrote letter. There are various sums. What actually happened is that they ask you to come for your check. Somebody got 498 Ghana cedis for 4 years service plus 25 years interest. So we complained. What they did was that when they saw that we had actually seen the trick that they doing, they paid an additional amount that was also not up to what they should do. Now, we've sat down with them on several occasions to do the corrections and pay us. They have not done it. We've written letters to them, and they are not paying attention to that. So this time, we are here to present a petition to government. The President, the Speaker of Parliament, and the Special Prosecutor to investigate this matter and let us have our money.
How many are you in number?
1993, 1994, the number of people who were retrenched constituted 14,044.
And out of that figure, do you know the number of people who have been settled already?
The number of people who have been paid is about 1,400, but the amount that were paid is not enough, it's not the money.
That was the secretary for the group calling itself the 1993 and 1994 retrenched Ghana Cocoa Board Officers Association, William Boedu. This is still the City Prime News, which is live on all our affiliates across the country. Western Region, Aduamah FM in Takwa Beach, FM Takrade. Bono Region, Greener FM Sunyain. Ashanti Region, Focus FM on KNUST Campus in Kumasi. Orange FM also in Kumasi. Volta Region, Revival FM in Tajewu. VOV Radio in Hawah. Northern Region, Radio Bimbala in Bimbala Upper East. Quality FM in Garu Upper West. Tunsong FM in Wa and Jirapa FM in Jirapa. Stories we've been bringing you this hour. Deputy Majority Leader Alexander Apenyomarkin calls for a reduction in the number of seats in Parliament to reduce its accompanying financial stress on the economy. We also brought you a story where government has assured of a further reduction in the prices of petroleum products at the pumps following the rollout of the implementation of the Gold for Oil policy. Now, still to come, one of our headline stories, Chairman of the Roads and Transport Committee in Parliament calls for the automation of road tolls and the charging of realistic tolls as government intends to reintroduce tolls. We have details of that plus other stories coming up shortly. Please don't go away.
City Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connect you to the newsmakers.
Keys. What could be simpler than a key? Who doesn't have a key? A car key, an office key, a drawer key. But there's one key that rules them all. The house key. The key to a place we call home. The key to the home where everything comes together. The key to a home that is our own. A home where we make life happen with our families and loved ones. Aduamah has been working hard for over 30 years to make home ownership within reach for many. Say yes to property with Aduamah. Your dream home is one call away. Your dream home is a few clicks away. Visit our Accra project, The Place, by calling 030-2789-757.
Listen up, people. There's good news for Airtel Tigo customers who haven't started and those who are yet to complete their SIM re-registration. Yes, good news. Complete your SIM re-registration and get free 5 GB data falla to browse, chat, Zoom, TikTok, Snap, and do more on Airtel Tigo to change your world. If your SIM has been blocked, don't worry. You can have your number back and also get a whopping 5 GB data as soon as you register with your Ghana card. Simply visit the nearest Airtel Tigo shop or agent today. Complete your SIM registration now. Airtel Tigo. Life is simple.
City Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connect you to the newsmakers.
Yeah, welcome back to the City Prime News on 97.3 City FM. My name is Hawah, Iddrisu, Mustapha here with Kwaku, Aduamah, and Ansah. Let's bring you one of our headline stories where the chairman of the Roads and Transport Committee in Parliament, Kennedy Osianyako, is demanding the automation of road tolls when the policy is reintroduced. Even though the Akim Suedru MP says his committee has not been consulted on the move to reintroduce the tolls, he says the committee would demand an increase in tolls charged as the cost of road construction has increased due to the inflation and the depreciation of the city. He spoke on the City Breakfast Show earlier this morning.
We on the Committee on Roads and Transport, we have not had any engagement with the Ministry of Roads and Highways on this matter. When I saw the letter, I immediately contacted the Chief Director, who confirmed that they just received the letter and the Minister is even yet to look at the letter. So they will convene a meeting and discuss it at the technical level. We on the committee have always maintained one position, that if the government want to reintroduce the toll, which was stated in the 2023 budget on paragraph 462, if the government want to, as part of its revenue measures, want to reintroduce it, we have no problem about it. But you should make sure that it shouldn't be in the old form that was there that we suspended it. We should rather look at how we can automate all the tolls that we want to collect the fees from. That is one. Two, we should look at the realistic charge, reasonable one that we can charge. Because if we look at the entire sub-region, let's say not even the sub-region alone, entire Africa, Ghana has the lowest toll fee. We charge the lowest toll fee. And if you look at, if you want to juxtapose the fee that we charge to the cost of kilometers of road now. About a year ago, a cost of a bitumen surfacing road, a kilometer of a bitumen surfacing road, a year ago, which equivalent to Ghana city, was around 1.8 to 2 million. As we speak, because of the dollar and the cedi depreciation or differences, today the same kilometer will cost you about 4.8 million Ghana cedi. More than 100% of, close to about 200% of the old cost. So if after a year, suspension of the tolls for more than a year, we want to reintroduce it, and we are just only going to add 50 pesos to the old one, then the problem that we intend to solve, we will not solve it.
Kennedy Osenyako also shut down calls for government to scrap the e-levy or further decrease when the road tolls are reintroduced. The government abolished tolls in a bid to convince Ghanaians to accept the e-levy, but Kennedy Osenyako argues that the reintroduction of the tolls is needed to complement the e-levy. Meanwhile, the public relations officer of the Roads and Highways Ministry, Ahmed Nasir Yate, says wider consultations will be done before the road tolls are reintroduced.
If the government want to, as part of its revenue measures, want to reintroduce it, we have no problem about it. It shouldn't be in the old form that was there that we suspended it. We should rather look at how we can automate all the tolls that we want to collect the fees from.
That was the Public Relations Officer for the Roads and Highways Ministry, Ahmed Nasir Yate.
Let's just stay on this matter because persons living with disability who lost their jobs following the closure of the toll booths in 2021 have hailed the proposal to reintroduce tolls on the country's roads. The affected workers, at the time the tolls were suspended, appealed to the government to rescind its decision as it would affect their survival, but their pleas were not heeded too. The government instead promised to pay toll workers until they are reassigned. When asked if that happened, one of them, Ella Ameto, answered in the negative. He, however, says they are happy about the new development.
It's not a bad idea. It's a very welcoming idea of thinking it back. Employment for persons with disability is going to generate a lot of money for the state. So we are happy. We are happy because it's going to help us a lot.
I see. So when you guys were laid off the other time, 2021, were you given anything up till now?
Oh no, they didn't give us anything, but we are still managing life because we were eating before the job came, and as they sack us, we have no option than to be depending on relatives. So they didn't give us anything, but we are still managing. But it's a good initiative. They are going to bring it back. And if they are going to stick to the policy of employing persons with disability, it's a worry because that is one policy that is very good when it comes to this government. So we will be very happy if they bring it back. If we are going to talk about fairness, in our local dialect, they have something. So if they have the power to give us it, and they take it out, we cannot say much. We think we were not treated fairly. We were not treated fairly, but we don't have that much say. So if they are bringing it back, we just say pray. And we see how the future treats us again.
Now, with the increase in calls for the government to automate the collection when reintroduced, Ella Ameto said he is worried they will not get their jobs back if the automation takes place.
Well, me personally, my experience, if the government automate this job, there is no way a robot will work in the tool. There is no way. By all means, there will be a human interface. So I'm sure the job is going to come to persons with disability, and it's going to help. Unless they change the policy for